I much prefer hills over valleys. Valleys become dense in the final project, which means the entire rest of the surface needs to be taken down to that level. Hills here are hills later and easily knocked down. I'm sorry I didn't turn the camera on when I was doing the fun part. Part I most enjoy about doing this kind of work, whether it's composites or gunstock work, is the clay Bondo. But the finger wipes, the work in the material, the work in the consistency, I feel like that's where the art is. But actually the art is in using the tools. I was reflecting today that everybody gets their projects done with the tools they have available to them. Which means some projects are just not possible to be done without the tooling required. But a lot of things we do as men, taking care of the household, stuff generally, we fix things and do things largely with the tools that we have available. And that's where the art is. Making the tool you have, making the materials you have work for what you need it to do. So this Anschutz stock that we're, oh I'm sorry, I'm zoomed so far in I don't know if you saw anything. This Anschutz stock I'm working on is just about ready for paint. It's had lots of that was the sander bar. Lots of applications of Bondo. Just working lots of areas that weren't that great on this factory original. Fattened this up a little bit here because this was a very tight fit with the cheek riser hardware. If I don't like it later I can take it down. It's not that much fatter, but it's a little bit. You know, we ought to go from paper thin piece of wood after the inletting is done to something that's cardstock thick maybe. No, should be thicker than that. And then had to reshape around here. The cheek piece hadn't been cut out of the same piece of wood, so it was a little bit different all the way around, so that had to be bondoed. And as well on the top, it was all weird. I have this, the cheek piece screwed into the buttstock with a couple of screws through pocketed holes, and I stuck some plasticine modeling clay in those holes before bondoing over this whole bit. And then after I use this as a master, I'll be taking this Bondo off and removing the cheek piece so that I can reference the geometry, the inletting for all this, which I will probably not duplicate, but now that I'm talking about it, actually I hadn't really thought about it. If I take this off while it's still in the machine, maybe I could duplicate the inletting that's in the buttstock instead of doing that manually on the milling machine. The cheek piece will have to be done manually, but well, we'll consider that when we get there. Alright, well I just really close to the end here, and I regret not turning the camera on and showing you the fun part of working with the wet Bondo, which was pretty stiff because it was the bottom of a jar. Everything's become so expensive anymore, I didn't want to waste any of it. It's machine belt paper. The stuff is very thick. And I don't know if it's intended for a belt. I call it that. It's that kind of material, super thick and very coarse. But maybe this is intended for like gluing to a big flat vibrating plate or something. I don't know, but it has a natural curl, which is great for doing these kind of things. And oh yeah, I got a very large collection of these kind of things for all these different shapes, and we'll use them on the finished stock for sure, but I like using a really coarse 80 grit to knock down Bondo. Just makes very short work of it. And I think most of my drum sanders, except for a few, have lighter cut cloth on them. Alright, so just a little bit more sanding, and I might do a little more Bondoing a couple places here and there. I don't think so, but you can never tell. And then it'll be red or brown primer. And the reason I do that is when it's in this condition, all mottled with Bondo and wood, it's difficult to tell if surfaces are fair, if curves match, and if you paint it so that it's all one homogeneous color, it really stands out to the eye if there's any shape imperfections that need to be worked. So, I'll turn the camera back on once there's paint on it. Alright, so now I got some paint on it, and I can see a couple spots that you just can't tell until you got a smooth coat of a color on there and see the reflections and see what's going on. So the factory stock has some over carved areas in here. This is all nice and smooth, and then these are pretty deep divots. So I'm going to want to fill those up rather than try to work this down on the final stock. I'd rather have some material there and be able to work it down as I wish instead of being forced to. And then there's a little dent in here in the thumb hole area that needs a fill. Oh yeah, and a couple other spots around the pistol grip. So otherwise, the main stuff that I worked on I'm pretty happy with. I'll look at it out in the sun tomorrow and get it from different angles, but I think I'm pretty happy with all that. So just a couple little more fills, and then get this duplicator cleared off so we can get this in the machine. And then a fun thing is going to be picking out a piece of wood. I've got 4 pieces I've set aside. It's kind of more like, what am I willing to part with? Because I fall in love with all my wood. Anyway, it's all gorgeous. We'll pick out a good piece. Alright, check back in soon. This was short enough. If I filmed this vertical, it could have been a YouTube short. I gotta start thinking like that. Thanks for checking in, everybody.